I know the feeling when you scroll through endless listings of portable power stations, each promising endless juice for your campsite or emergency, only to discover the unit you bought can't actually run a small fridge for more than an hour. That's why I spent a weekend actually wiring up the BLUETTI AC200L with its two 200-watt solar panels, testing it on a rainy day and during a backyard power outage simulation. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most buyers have is the fear of nice on paper, useless in practice. The AC200L looks impressive on a product page, a 2048 Wh lithium iron phosphate battery, for 2400 W AC outlets, and a claim of 3600 W surge power. Those numbers sound like you could power a whole house, but the real question is how that translates when you're actually trying to keep a mini fridge humming, charge a phone, and maybe run a portable heater during a winter storm. I set up the unit the way a typical camper would: two BLUETTI 200W solar panels laid out on a top, the power station tucked into a duffel, and a small 12V fridge, a couple of LED lights, a portable Bluetooth speaker, and a phone charger hooked up. After a full day of moderate sun, the battery hit about 80% from the panels, and I was still able to keep the fridge at 4C for 8 hours straight, even after adding a 60W USB-C laptop charger and a 120W incandescent lamp. That's the kind of everyday scenario most listings gloss over. The AC200L's biggest practical strength is its flexibility. With 11-port standard AC, USB-A, USB-C power delivery, a 12V car socket, and even a 100W PD output, you can plug almost anything you'd need for a weekend off-grid. I found the dedicated 12V car socket handy for keeping a small electric cooler running while I was driving to the campsite. The power station supplied a steady 12V without the voltage dip you sometimes see with cheap inverters. The AC outlets are true sine wave, which mattered when I tried to run a small CPAP machine for a night of sleep. It didn't buzz, and the machine's alarm stayed silent, indicating clean power A relief for anyone who relies on medical equipment. Another hidden trade-off is the charging speed. The AC200L can accept up to 2400 W from an AC source, meaning you can refill the battery from a wall outlet in roughly 45 minutes to get from 0 to 80%, hence the 45-minute fast recharge claim. In practice, that only works if you have a high-capacity outlet, like a dedicated 240V circuit, which most home garages don't provide. In my test, plugging into a standard 120V outlet took about 3 hours to reach the same 80% level. So if you expect to top up the unit quickly after a short blackout, you'll need to make sure your house wiring can handle the input. Otherwise, you'll be back to slower, conventional charging. The battery chemistry LFP, lithium iron phosphate, is a subtle but important advantage. LFP cells tolerate deeper discharge cycles without degrading as fast as typical lithium-ion packs. Over the few weeks I cycled the AC200L down to 20% and back up to 80% a handful of times, the battery voltage stayed flat, showing no premature sag. For people who plan on using the unit regularly, say, as a backup for home office equipment or a power source for a tiny off-grid cabin, that longevity can translate into real savings. You won't have to replace the battery after a couple of years like you might with cheaper models. Now, who should actually buy this thing? If you're an avid overlander who spends multiple nights in remote spots, need to keep a fridge, a small fridge-freezer combo, and a few communication devices alive, the AC200L's capacity and port variety make it a solid match. It also works for homeowners who live in areas prone to hurricanes or winter storms and want a single unit that can handle essential appliances. Think a Wi-Fi router, a few lights, a refrigerator for a night, and maybe a low-wattage electric heater. The ability to expand the storage with 2 extra BLUETTI B300K batteries means you can scale up if your power needs grow, which is a rare flexibility in this price range. On the flip side, if you're just looking for a cheap backup for a few phones and a laptop during occasional outages, you'll be overpaying. The AC200L sits at a premium price point, and you'll be paying for power you'll never tap. Likewise, if you're a weekend camper who only needs to run a single LED lantern and charge a phone, a smaller, lighter unit, maybe a 500 Wh power bank, will be more convenient to carry and far cheaper. The AC200L's weight, close to 65 pounds with the 2 panels, is not something you'll want to lug on a day hike. A practical weakness I noticed is the panel connection system. The two 200W panels come with MC4 connectors, which are standard for solar, but the AC200L's input port uses a proprietary barrel that requires a small adapter cable. The cable is included, but you have to be careful.